everybody. Welcome to Kiki Loves Nigeria. How's everybody doing on this Saturday? I hope you guys are having a wonderful Saturday. I'm having a good Saturday. So, I want to welcome you to my show. My name is Kiki. I want to take my time to introduce myself to you guys because a lot of times people come who this is their first time and they don't know who I am. So, I always want to take, I want to thank you if this is your first time here for joining me. And then I also want to, if you're a returning viewer, I always thank you for coming back. So, my name is Kiki, and this is my show, Kiki Loves Nigeria. And let me see, who am I? Like I said, I am a qualitative researcher. I'm also a public servant. I am an educator. And what I do is I teach people about, I use my channel to teach people about issues that are going on in the REPAT community. All right, I talk about different countries, namely the Gambia. I've talked about the Gambia a lot. I do immigration paperwork for the Gambia and also for um, Nigeria. So if you look through my channel, you got questions about immigration, you can look on there and you can see things from Nigeria and also from Gambia. And where am I from? I am from the great state of Ohio. And like I said, I am an educator and I am a public servant. All right, so that's why I'm talking about this issue because this is a public service issue and this is something that we all need to know about. And I use my channel to share information with people. All right, so that's pretty much, let me make sure I went over who I am, got it all written down so I don't forget because y'all sometimes I'll get to talking and I will completely forget. All right, so that's who I am. So tonight we are going to talk about something a little different. Normally, we talk about Africa and what's going on with Africa because that's where most of my experience is with Africa. That's where most of my travels have been to Africa. You know, I haven't traveled to Latin America. I haven't even thought about Latin America really until I started researching about the REPAT communities and expat communities. Now, the difference between this is how I'm defining the difference. I didn't see this written down anywhere, but just from doing my own research, this is the definition that I come up with about the REPAT, the difference between the REPAT community and an expat community. Okay, so to me, my definition is that a REPAT community is that you have some kind of ancestral connection to that land. So if you are repatriating, that means that some grandparent, you know, even if it's like years ago, and you don't even know them, you have some kind of DNA. Let's put it like that. Some kind of biological connection to that land. That's how I define repatriating. Now, expat, how I define expat is someone who's left the country and decided to make another country their home. All right. So that's how I found out about Ecuador because I just was like, just from my 11 times going to Africa back and forth, and even Cameroon, Nigeria, Gambia is the same thing. You know, I'm like, okay, wait a minute. I want to, you know, expand my horizons. There's got to be other places out there. Not saying I won't, you know, travel to Africa or invest in Africa, but at this point, I don't see myself like repatriating to Africa. And I'm just being honest. I'm not going to lie to you guys and sell you guys some little fake dream, but it just from my trips and my travels and my research, it's just not for me. It doesn't mean it's not for you. It's just not for me. So I decided, okay, I need to go outside of Africa and look at different places. And when I was, you know, looking for researching where are Americans and UK people, I'm sorry, y'all, I call y'all UK people, but that's the only name I could think of. So the people, the UK people, the Western people, where are they going? Because they tend to put us all in the same category because we kind of have the same kind of cultural, we have a cultural connection, if you will. So they kind of put us together. So I was been researching where are we going? Where are we moving to? Because Americans are really leaving this country and going to other countries. So I'm thinking, okay, it's got to be other countries out there. It's got to be, you know, great, fine, and dandy because everybody's, you know, seems like when there's time for retirement age, even people who haven't quite retired, you know, they're leaving this country, America, and they're going to another country, whether it's in South America, whether it's in Europe or whether it's in Africa. So that's what my research was showing me. And you guys would not believe the popular destination. Ecuador, which is in Latin America, is a popular destination. And I did a video about that. So you might want to go watch the video. It gives you a little information about Ecuador and why it's a popular destination. Okay. But it's a really big popular destination. I had no clue that Ecuador would be on the list. So while researching Ecuador, I'm going to tell you guys how I got to this, how I got on this topic, what made me start researching it, how I got to the brother. Okay. So while researching, looking for different places where Americans were going, I came across, like I said, Ecuador. And then looking at Ecuador, I came across this story. No, let me back up. I went on YouTube and I looked on YouTube to see, where were we going to. So I found this YouTube channel. It was DC Rob. DC Rob, no, DC Born Rob. That's his name. So I was watching his channel, and he goes to Latin America a lot. So his channel is really about travels to Latin America, and his information was like really just frank information. It wasn't, I'm going to paint this picture for you that Latin America is lovely and beautiful and we don't have problems there. I'm going to tell you the truth about Latin America. So I kind of used his channel as a resource for Latin America because he travels there. He knows a lot about it. So you guys, I'm looking through his channel and I see this picture, the picture that I got on my channel or on this thumbnail. I look on there and it's these two guys on there, right? And I'm like, okay, what is it about these two guys? What's the story? What's the deal pretty much with these two young men, two young Black men? And then I was like, why are they in Ecuador? Hey, cow baby girl. I was like, but why are they in Ecuador? That was my first question. Why are they in? Now remember that was my first question when I saw the story about them was why are they in Ecuador? Okay. So I started watching this story. So I'm about to tell you who these guys are. If you don't know who they are, I'm about to tell you who they are. So I started watching this story on his channel about these two young men. And when I looked at his channel, they went from these two young African American men traveling all over Ecuador to they had on orange jumpsuits. And I was like, what? Why are they in orange jumpsuits? Because it's not connecting with me that these people, these young men, are incarcerated. But they're doing this live video talking to Rob, DC Rob, and they're DC Born Rob, and they're in prison while they're talking to him. Okay. So my mind is still not processing this because I'm thinking, wait a minute, they just went there to repatriate, to buy land, to build a home, to start businesses. How in the world did they wind up in prison? So the more I watched, the more the story began. Right, so we don't have any questions. If you got any questions or comments, please just join the conversation. Go ahead and put them in the link. The comment box. So, all right. So we're looking at what's going on. So I'm still watching to see what's going on. So I hear the young men telling, one of them, the youngest one, he graduated. I'm going to tell you who they are. So I got to give you some background on who they are so you can understand the story. Right. So the youngest one, which is John, he went to the university. He did an internship. I think it was an internship or a summer program, like I did, where you get to go to another country. And while you're in this other country, you get exposed to this other country. You get exposed to the culture and different things. All right. So John fell in love with this country. He liked doing ecotourism, which means people come and they just tour the environment, the systems, ecosystem, like what is the forest, like the jungle, like they were in the Amazon jungle. People want to go to the Amazon jungle and just experience that. So this is what he had a master's degree. So this is what John was thinking after he graduated, after he completed his internship. Okay, he comes back to the United States. While he's in the United States, After he graduates, he tells his dad, this is what I want to do. I want to go back to Ecuador and I want to buy some land and I want to do this ecotourism. I want to grow crops, I want to grow crops. I want to have housing. I want to provide different things for people, resources for people in this Amazon jungle region because there wasn't much development going on there. But he knew that there was development that was needed. There was an economic opportunity there. So he told his dad, let's go there and we can really do some things there. All right. Now, remember, I didn't tell you guys, but they're from Guyana. Guyana is also in South America. So that's why for John, their names are John and Ronell. They're 37. Now, let me tell you how old they are now. They are 37. At the time of this interview, I believe they were 37 and 28 years old. Right. Their parents were born in Guyana, which is on the north side of South America. So that's why I consider this a repack journey for them and not an expat. So they decided, once John had went there, the youngest one, and he came back, he said, okay, he felt like life was much simpler. Life was going to be much simpler if I'm in, Ecuador. The reason why people repatriate or expat, right? This is the reason why they do all this, all right? So he talks his dad into going to South America to help him build this home and set everything up. Okay, you guys, sounds like a good idea, right? So, tell you this story. We get there. He's there, right? He's there. So him and his dad, they hire some workers from the villagers. Now, this city he's in, the population in this city, it's densely populated. A lot of people there, but they're village people, they're villagers. Now, if you've ever been to a country that has cities and villages, you have to understand the village people are more like the country people here. Like, when you go down south to the real small towns, the really, really small towns, it's like that. Or even up here in Ohio, you can find really, really small towns. Okay. So it's like that. So just imagine that it's those type of people. So it's these type of people who are surrounding him. They're indigenous people. There's not black people there. It's not where Americans are located. They're probably the only black people there in this city. All right. And these are indigenous people. So these people don't see African Americans like that. They don't see them in the flesh like that. They don't have access to African Americans like that. They don't have access to Americans like that, except when they come to tourists to do tourism. But again, it's probably less access to African Americans than it is to European Americans. So now we're at the dad coming to this land, right? He's coming to see the land with the son. They make the purchase of the land. But let me tell you guys something really important that we always talk about on my channel, that when you get ready to repatriate anywhere, you have to understand the cultural and the social norms in that area. Okay. So the cultural norms and that social norms in that area were the land that they were purchasing, that they wanted to purchase, well, that they did purchase, was sacred land. Okay. When I heard that, when I read that, I knew instantly that's a problem. That's going to be a problem. That's going to be a problem because, for one, sacred land, they don't want foreigners to buy that land. That land should have never been for sale. I don't even know how they bought it. They said they bought it from somebody from Canada. A Canadian person sold it to them. If I'm wrong and somebody else knows what happened, please correct me. But they said they bought it from a Canadian person, okay? So this land was sacred land to these indigenous people. Now, on sacred land, you can only do certain things and certain things you cannot do. All right? So first, I'm sure they were offended because this land was sold to non-natives. Secondly, I'm sure they were offended because, now this is just me giving you what I'm seeing from the outside looking in, giving you my perspective as a historian as an ethnographer, as somebody who's worked for the government, as somebody who has studied, my phone is ringing, y'all, as somebody who studied cultures, okay? This is what I'm seeing. So now they come into this land, they take this land, they buy this land outright from this Canadian, but this land is sacred land to the villagers who live, to the indigenous people. So who knows how many offenses they felt when these outsiders bought this land. And then when they buy the land, they really did a nice job with this land, you guys. You got to go on DC Raj's channel, okay? When we finish, go on there and just watch his videos. I've been watching these videos for, I know, about a month now. That's about how long I've been on this case, because I really wanted to get it's so much information, and I wanted to get a full understanding of it so it wouldn't sound like I was just sitting up here reading things, because that was going to just kind of work. So we're with the dad and the brother. They've hired people in the community to come work on this land to help develop. The land is really nice now. It's like a city. They built 4 houses, okay? 4 houses on this land. It's 130 acres of land. Now let that just sink in. 130 acres of land that they purchased, of sacred land. Okay? So they buy this land, they develop this land, they got roads on this land. This land was undeveloped when they bought it. They have roads on this land. They have they have even a nightclub. John, you know, he's young, he's in his 20s. Of course, he want to party. So he developed a nightclub. There was a nightclub there that the locals could come to. I don't like calling them village. That the locals could come to go and hang out and socialize. All right. So just imagine this land went from nothing, from just zero, sacred land that nothing was on, to a whole city. A whole city. It had places where they grew crops. You know, the Tabasco hot sauce company. Do you remember John has this master's degree, and I can't remember exactly what it is in, but it had something to do with agriculture or ecosystems, but it was something to do with what he was doing. Okay. So he knew what he was doing. He knew how to grow these crops. He knew how to get the best of these crops. So he was growing peppers. His peppers, he was doing so good with that he had a contract with the Tabasco hot sauce company to provide peppers for them. Now, this is how well these young men were doing. This is how well. You just got to think about that these 2 African-American men left the United States, went to school, got a master's. The one did. Ronell did. I don't know if Ronell went to school, but I don't know. They didn't talk about it. Ronell's the oldest. But John went to school, got a master's, back to Ecuador, bought land fair and square. They bought it from somebody, the Canadian man. Then they developed this land so much that it's like a city. That's why I said you got to go look at the picture. You just have to. You have to go look at the pictures to see what they did, to see the blood, sweat, and tears that they put into this land. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. It was simply beautiful. It was someplace everybody would want to go. Okay. So then on top of that, they had a nightclub there. So you could go to the nightclub, and their nightclub, now remember, in the city and where they were living, those nightclubs would close at 2:00. But because it was their private land and they ran it like a resort, they could have it stay open as late as they wanted to. So everybody started coming to their nightclub because it stayed open later and they could hang out longer. So think, what do we have there going on? So not only did you buy sacred land, okay, now you're taking our customers from our business people. And who's doing this in their eyes? These 2 foreigners who are foreigners. And not only are they foreigners, they're Americans. And not only are they Americans, they are Black Americans. Yes, this is actually what was said in the court record. I kid you not. Okay. So they got this nightclub. People are coming to this nightclub. People are buying stuff from them. People are getting crops from them. They're doing very well. People are coming to them. They're doing very well. They have roads. John marries one of the girls who are from there. He has a baby with her. Everything is going good, right, everybody? That's what I'm thinking. I'm looking at the story. I'm reading the story because not only did I watch DC Rob, you know me, I'm going to go look it up and see what else I can find on my own. So I'm all on the internet looking up the story, finding out as much as I can find out. And yeah, they were doing good. They were doing good. They were doing excellent. It was like a happy story. The brother had come. Ronell had came from the United States to come help his little brother John. So he was there working. They were hiring people. They were truly doing economic development. Truly doing that. And that's what you want, right? You want foreigners to come to your country, right? And you want them to develop your country, to develop whatever they buy, and you want them to give back to the community by employing the people in the community, right? Giving the people jobs, giving them access to goods and services they wouldn't normally have. And this is exactly what these young men were doing. This is exactly what they were doing. So what was the problem? What was the problem? That's what I kept saying. Well, what's the problem? What is about to happen? What could possibly go wrong? This young man has a master's degree. I know he's not a criminal because he has a master's degree. He's not going to do all of that. He's not going to jump through all those hoops you got to jump through to get a master's degree to become a criminal. It doesn't make logical sense. So I'm thinking, what's going to happen? Keep reading. I keep listening to DC Rob, this interview. And guess what happened? Well, hold on, y'all. Let's put this one up there. Give me a break. I don't really talk about it. Okay, hey, Travel Line. Travel Line says, hi, Kiki. I used to be in an Ecuador group. Oh, really? Years ago. But it was mostly elder white American. Yes, that's where they live. In Consica, they did war of racism, blacker areas in, okay, represented, I can't pronounce that, represented like it lacked, and they did. Sorry, I'm not sure why. Okay, did I come back? Okay, I came back. Uh, yeah, that's what they were saying. That was another issue where the young men were located, Polara, I think I'm saying it right. Please forgive me if I'm not. But that was another issue was where they were, okay, see, they warned of racism. Look, y'all, see, look. This is important because ultimately this is what this is about with these young men. And now they're in a fight for their lives because one of them has stage 4 cancer now. Yeah. They're in a fight for their lives. The other one is still in there. The other one is in the hospital. Yeah, they're in a fight for their lives. And we got to go on YouTube to find the story for real. But thank God for YouTube. Thank God for YouTube that YouTube will give you a platform to say pretty much what you want to say. Because if you see, it's not on ABC News, it's not on CBS, it's not on NBC, it's not on what's the other ones, Inside Edition, it's not on Fox News Net, it's not on the major networks. It's not. That's why we got to do something about this. We got to write. We got to write people. We got to say something. We got to do something. So let me finish. So that's really the underlying issue is this right here. That's why I keep telling you people, you got to know where you're going. You got to be aware of your surroundings. You got to know what people truly think about you inside their heart, because that's what they believe. Because perception is reality. I don't care who you are, but how I perceive you to be, that's going to be my reality of you. You can be the nicest person in the world, but if I perceive you to be as the evilest person in the world, then that's what's going to happen. No matter what you do. Because perception is about me. It's not about you. So you got to think, you got to stop and stand back and realize who you are. And unfortunately, what I'm saying is that these young men were just like any other young African American people. They don't realize who they are. Because see, when I was 20, when I was their age, I didn't realize who I was either. I believed I could go anywhere and everywhere until I was in the heart of Kentucky. Mhm. This little country town, and I'm driving through thinking I can go anywhere I want to because I'm African American and I'm in the United States and racism doesn't exist anymore. And even if it does, who cares? Because I can do what I want to do. I'm driving in this place who's known for racism. I'm driving straight through there, y'all. And guess what I see? Y'all not gonna believe this. I've never seen this before in my life. They were burning the farm. I kid y'all not. The KKK is like bad up in this area, right? You grow up knowing about them, okay? They were burning the crop in Kentucky. They had a whole, y'all, they had a whole rally. They had a whole rally. It was like a festival. You know, like we have carnivals and festivals. I kid you not. It was just like that. And I'm driving through, me and my cousin, and we looking at each other like, we just really see some hoods. Did we just really see some crosses burning? You know, this is how we looking at each other. This is how we are looking at each other. So this is why you got to realize who you are and where you are and plan accordingly. So once I finally got out of that little town, I never took the back roads again. I stayed on the major highway. And see, you know, the funny thing about that is that when you study the civil rights movement, that's what they always told you. They always told you, don't go on the back road, stay on the main highway. But of course, I'm 20 something, I'm invincible. I can do what I want to do. And look what I stumbled upon. And thank God that God was with us and got us out of there and nobody bothered us. They just kind of looked at us like they knew we were lost. You know, looking at us like this. You know how the car drive past with some people in the car that you know don't belong in the neighborhood? That's how they was looking at us. But they didn't bother us. You know, nobody said, stop the car, get around. Nobody did that. They just let us go. Like they got to be lost. That's how they was looking at us, like they got to be lost. So that's why I'm saying we got to teach our kids who you are and where you are. And you can't do everything your cousin do. Like my kids got white cousins. They got real white cousins. And I have to tell my kids, you can't do the things your white cousins do. Your white cousin can go places you can never go. And that's the reality of life and who you are. And it's nothing wrong with that, people. That's nothing to be ashamed of. That's nothing to be ashamed of. It's nothing to even be angry about. It's just the reality. You accept the reality of your world and you operate within that. That's what you got to do. Because especially when it comes to other people, because you have no control on what them people think about you. But you do have control over the situations you put yourself in and the situations we find ourselves in. That's why we got to teach our kids. That's why we got to keep sharing information, like Travel Line just shared about Ecuador and the groups. We got to keep sharing this information because they're going to paint us this picture. Because I'm telling y'all, nobody likes racism. Nobody wants to be called a racist. Nobody. I don't know anybody who enjoys that. I really don't. So nobody's going to just present themselves and say, oh, yes, racism is alive and well there, and you got to be careful. Some people will, but by and large, most people won't, because most people are offended that people still think like that. Okay. Hey, Mr. Jordan. So these boys are in this place where they don't have, they don't see African Americans, especially men, young men like that. So of course they're gonna believe the stereotypes about these men. And y'all know what the stereotypes are about African American young black men. You know what the stereotypes are. And these are the lies and the stereotypes they begin to tell each other about these young guys, these about the Stephenson brothers, Ronell and John. Okay, because you got to remember, yeah, a lot of young people like our culture. They like African American culture. Okay, so they're drawn to the culture. These young people were being drawn to the culture, and even on the pictures, when you go to DC Rob's channel, you're gonna DC Born Rob. How was it? DC Born Rob. Okay, you're going to see pictures of them with African American, with posing the village, the indigenous people posing, the young men posing with, and the young ladies with them. You know, and you can clearly see they're mimicking our culture because they're posing like us. And when I saw that picture, I said, oh, this is a problem. This is a problem. This is going to be a problem because let me tell you, whenever they see that, people are scared of our culture because they connect our culture with violence, with guns, and drugs. Remember that. What did I just say? When people see our culture, they connect our culture with three things instantly. And I'm just keeping it real 100. They connect our culture with violence, guns, and drugs. Okay? So, the young people coming to the town, coming to their city, because that's what it was, a little city. They got this big contract with Tabasco. They built 4 houses. They got people staying there. If you work on the land, I believe you could stay in the house. If you worked three to 4 days a week on the land, you could stay in one of their nice houses. And these were nice houses they could stay in. So they were really doing a service for this community. They were drawing the young people in. And people don't like that. Because see, what's going to happen, those younger people will switch and start adapting to our culture. They'll start taking on African American cultural ways because they're around Ronell and John all the time. They're living with Ronell and John. They're listening to Ronell and John's music when they get off work. They're going to the nightclub with Ronell and John. They're just kicking it with Ronell and John all the time. So what's happening? The culture is being diffused. They don't like that. They're seeing changes in these young people. They don't like that. That becomes fear. So not only are you living on sacred land, not only are you taking from us economically, because now our nightclubs are not making money. Not only are our nightclubs not making money, not only are our housing apartments that we were renting to these people, not only are we losing that because now the workers are coming to you and they can stay with you for free as long as they work. We're losing that. And now they're adapting to your ways. This is a problem for the elders in the community. This is a problem for the elders in the community. And if you don't think the elders in this community knew what was going on, you're sadly mistaken. Because the elders in any of these communities, in these foreign places, they know exactly what's going on, especially when you're in a place like where these brothers were, a very small town. They know exactly what you're doing. Okay, so these are the issues. This is what's going on. So everything's going good. So everything's going great. So now we get to, tell me if y'all got any questions. Because now we're at March the 11th, 2017. Okay. So March the 11th, 2017, John describes this as a nightmare. Nightmare began to happen. Okay. Now, they were on an interview. This is where I got the information from. It was from an interview with DC Rob And on December the 11th, this is what they said. It was approximately like 5 a.m. in the morning. All right. They said they were asleep. All of a sudden, someone kicks the door open. They have machine guns and they have masks on and they're pointing the guns at them. The prosecutor is there, which I thought was odd. I believe they said the prosecutor was there. Okay. And the prosecutor came in and said to them, "Tell me why I'm here." John said, he said, "I don't know why you're here. You tell me why you're here." Couldn't he said, "You tell me why you're here"? They went back and forth. So he finally tells him that the locals claim that they have a cocaine plantation. They're growing Tabasco peppers or Tabasco for the Tabasco sauce, for the Tabasco hot sauce company. But the locals reported to the prosecutor that they had a cocaine plantation. A cocaine plantation. Now remember the three things I told you that stereotype young black men. So this is the first stereotype being fulfilled. What was it? Drugs. They sell drugs. So what are they saying and doing? They're selling drugs. They're selling drugs. Okay, so let's see. And after that, they tell them, the prosecutor says, they also said that you're stashing American police weapons. Now, why is American, instead of just saying American weapons, why are American police weapons? Why is that? Because American police weapons are assault weapons. They're deadly weapons. They're like military high-tech weapons that can wipe out the whole city with no problem. So they amped it up. Not only are they, why didn't they just say gun? Because we needed to amp it up. And these are young African-American men we're talking about with money. So they got to have guns. They got to have the high tech. And we know they stole them from the police because how else did they get them? These are the stereotypes. But this is what this is what put out about us as a people constantly. So you can't fault these indigenous people. They truly believe in this. They don't think African Americans have money like that. They don't think that. They don't think you can come and do that without doing this illegal stuff. So, not only that, the American weapons, police weapons, okay? Guess what else they said? What did I say? The last one was violence. They said they accused them of murder. They accused them of killing two people. Two people. One of them was their friend who worked for them, who worked on the farm with them, who worked in the community with them, who worked for them. Yeah. They accused them of doing that. Okay. They're like, what? You know, I know their minds had to just be like blown because all of this is lies. So John tells them this is all just a bunch of lies. Okay, so they have 4 houses on this land. Let me go back. We're going to stop there. So the police come in. So we stop them with the police coming in, kicking the door, prosecutor there, telling them, block, this is you charged with. They said you got cocaine. They said you got a cocaine plantation. They said that what else did they say they was doing? They had American police weapons. And they also was killed 2 people. Killed 2 people and buried them on their land. On their 130 acres. This sounds like a Netflix movie, but unfortunately, it is not. It is real life. And these people, these young men who are old enough to be our children, some of us are old enough to be their parents. We have children their age. So when I'm telling you this story, I want you to think about your children. If you have sons, think about your sons. Think about your children and how you would feel if you were the Stephensons. Your kids going over to another country to escape all the violence in the United States, to escape all the being stereotyped as a young black man, to escape all of that, to only go to another country and even get it worse. Because this wouldn't have happened here. No, excuse me. It wouldn't have happened here. I'm sorry, y'all. Y'all know things happen here. But this right here, the story I'm telling y'all, and this is a real life story. This is not made up for YouTube, for clicks and views. So we're going to stop there. I'm going to see if you got any questions. So now the police are there. They tell them what they came there for. They tell them what the complaints are against them. Because, see, you got to let me explain this to you, too. You got to understand how it works in other countries, okay? You wedge the complaint. If you harm my family member, well, no, we're going to wait. We're going to wait for that. I want to see if I got questions. Estate and walled living for me with no shame, with poverty gaps. You are vulnerable, and the locals see you as a target of envy. And that was so sad, because that's what it came down to, y'all. Envy and jealousy, fueled by your stereotype and your hatred for these people. That's that is exactly what this comes down to. That's exactly what this is all about. At the end of the day, that's what this is all about. But I got power, and you don't. And you don't. So, we can't go anywhere. What? Without looking up. No, we can't, pretty much. We can't. And that's the reality of our lives. That's the reality. And it's not to me, that's nothing to be angry about. It's just the truth. It's just, and it's not just African Americans, because I'm gonna bring y'all some stories about white Americans. Who was done? Oh my God, Jesus. This lady lost her life because of money, because of greed. You are an American first. They said the reason this was done to these Stephenson boys, the first thing they said is because they were Americans. You were Americans. The second thing, you were a Black American. Because they look at Americans with envy and greed and jealousy. And that's the truth. That's the truth. And you got to realize that. You got to realize that. And this is not, I'm not just talking about, when I say Americans too, I'm talking about the UK people too. I'm talking about those people too. They do them the same way. The Australia people, them too. Any people in the West, they think we just walk on gold. They think we got tons of money that's waiting to be taken from us. And you got to realize who you are. But if you come from them countries, and not only are you Australian, but you Black, that means you got a double whammy. If you come from the UK and you UK and you Black, that means you got a double whammy. You come from America, you American, and you Black, you got a double whammy. You got a double whammy. And you can't keep saying this is not true. You can't keep saying, oh, I'm leaving America to escape racism, because that's a lie. You can't keep saying, I'm going to leave America to escape sexism, because that's a lie. Because just ask the lady who's in Russia. And I'm not talking about Brittany Garner. There's another lady in Russia, American lady, but nobody's talking about her. They just found out about her for sexism, because she dared to fight back when this man, her Russian boyfriend, is trying to kill her. So you think you escaping all that to find out you get there and you got no rights? You got no right. And on top of that, they can't stand you because of where you come, where you were born, as if we had a choice, as if we stood there and said, okay, I want to be born in America, I want to be born in UK, I want to be born in Australia. We had no choice in that. None of us, none of the people in the West had a choice in that. That's just the way the cards fell. And so our punishment is this. We can't go nowhere without looking over our shoulders. And if you come from a minority in that country, you better be looking over both shoulders. And if you go to any of these countries as a single woman, because there's a UK lady who went to Kenya, I'm going to tell you what happened to her. What happened to her? Yeah, this is real, y'all. All these, it's a wonderful life. That's a lie. That's a lie. It's a dangerous life when we leave our countries to go live in other countries because they can kick our door down at any given time. Make up some stuff like they did with them. And now we be the ones fighting like these boys are. So let's finish. So let me tell you. So now we are at 5 o'clock in the morning. They're taking the boys in, right? They're taking the young men, they're taking them in for custody now. Okay. So they notice they're outside of their house. They notice that the people, this family, that they employ their friend's family. See, their friend, in the meantime, their friend has become missing. They noticed that the friend was missing. Okay. They said in an interview, the boys, the Stephenson brothers, that the last time they seen their friend, he was on a motorcycle, a red motorcycle. Remember that. He was on a red motorcycle and he was leaving on this red motorcycle. That was the last time they seen him. Okay. His family was, forgive me if I say it wrong, the Zamran Dias family. Zamran Dias family. So the Zamran Dias family was this big, huge indigenous family in this area who were really powerful and very, very connected. Remember I told you, when you go to these places, it's about who you know and who you don't know, and you got to hook up with the locals. You got to hook up with the right locals. So these locals, this family, this Zamran Dias family, was very dangerous. Beautiful. Come plug up my laptop. So they were very dangerous. This family was extremely dangerous. They didn't know this until after the fact. But they're giving these young people from this family a job. They're exposing the young people from this family to American culture, African American culture. Okay? So, no, plug it right there. So, they look up. They're going out to get in the car to go to jail. They look up, and this Zamran Dias family, they're all over their property, right? They're digging up their property. They're walking around with shovels. No, that one's not working. Okay, it's working. Okay. They're walking around with shovels, and they're looking at them like, what is going on? So, coming to find out, so one of the Zamran Dias family, Dias, I don't know how you say it, come up to him, they hit John in the face. Okay? So they hit John in the face. So they're in the backyard in the land, their land, digging up the land. Guess what? They mysteriously uncovered 2 dead bodies. 2, not 1 dead body, y'all, but 2 dead bodies in the backyard of these young men's land. One of them bodies is their friend who is related to these Zamran Dias people, and the other one is his cousin, also related to this Zamran Dias family, who happen to be very powerful and who happen to be known for the use of black magic to get what they want when they want it. Okay, so the victims were later identified. Okay, so after they found these bodies, they putting John and them in the car, and they telling the police, "Oh, we found these bodies. We found these bodies," which proves that they did it. All right, so the brothers are like, what is going, they still don't believe what's going on. So they are arrested, they put in prison. The Diaz family, they're still on the property when they leave. They're still on the property when they leave. They tell them they're charged with, they ask them what are they charged with, they tell them they're being arrested for possession of guns, drug trafficking, and murder. Okay, what did I tell you the stereotype was? I told you, violence, drugs, and violence, drugs, and guns. So John said the indigenous family, they stayed there. This Diaz family, they stayed there. The police didn't make them leave. The police did nothing, just let them stay on the land. Okay, stayed on their land. So after that, the police kept insisting that they were going to kill them if they took them to this certain jail. So they had to take them to another place, okay? Because they said that the foreigners, these indigenous people, they've been known to be in conflicts with foreigners before, and they killed them. Okay, so you heard what I said. They know, the police told them, we scared for y'all safety because we know this family has been in conflicts with foreigners before, and they killed them. This is what they told John about this family they're having this conflict with on the way down to the prison. Okay, so during this time again, they're still at their home. They can't do, and then they're in prison. Okay, they're in prison now. So they find out while they're in prison that everything in their houses, that everything has been destroyed. That these people went in, destroyed, burned everything, took everything, destroyed everything. Even they had fish pond, they had ducks, they had fish, they had cows, they had everything. They took everything. They said they even took the fish out the pond. Now imagine that. This is how low down this was. They even took their fish out of their pond, burnt down their beautiful homes, everything, destroyed everything. So everything is destroyed. Everything is destroyed. The brothers are in prison. Okay. Now, they feel like everything, they've lost everything. So in the meantime, the Diaz family, they go on the news and they tell them that the brothers were drug dealers, murderers, and they had guns. Same thing they told the police, okay? And so you got to remember, the Diaz family is now, okay? And they're the victim's family. Remember, the two murder victims was related to this Diaz family, right? So the leader of this family tells them that for the young men, the Stephenson brothers, not to go to jail, not to go to prison, they would take their land, they could give them their land, and they could give them $1 million. Now, see, that shows you that they really have no concept of US dollars. This tells you how they think these people were just super magnificent rich. Because $1 million and their land. So the brothers were like, no, we're not giving you our land and we're not giving you any money. They dropped the money down to $500,000. They dropped it to $200,000. And then they finally dropped it to $100,000. So remember, they offered them for you not to go to jail. The family said, the Diaz family, this family who's known for practicing black magic, this family who is known for killing foreigners if they interfere with them, tells them, we will let the prosecutor to let you go if you give us your land and you give us 100,000 USD dollars. And this is, let me tell you how this works, right? Excuse me. You got to remember, in other countries, the victim is the family, not the prosecutor, not the state. If the victim feels like there's no loss, then the victim doesn't have to prosecute. There's no problem. Okay? So the victim can say, for my loss of my loved one, you can give me this much money and I won't seek justice through the court system. But if you don't give me anything for my loss, then I'm going to seek justice through the court system. See, that's how it goes in other countries. So some people will look at that, oh, that's a bribe or blah, blah, blah. But no, it's not. It's just how it goes in other countries. Okay. That's how their justice system works. It says that the prosecutor doesn't initially press the charges. The family is the one who presses the charges. You see what I'm saying? So if they would have given them the money and the land, it would have been a done deal. They could have left and came back home. That is what they wanted, and the brothers turned them down. So let's stop and see if we got some questions. And we're going to go back to why were the brothers even targeted. Thank you for telling the story, planting yourself among strangers. Wow, Black is no joke. It's not. It's not. It really isn't. You got to be on guard 24/7. You can't relax like everybody else. You can't think like and that's what they thought. They were even in competitions. They were even in like a weightlifting competition. You know, John was named Mr. Ecuador twice. You know, he was running for mayor for that city because he was so popular with the young people because of the things that he was doing. And you think these people, this Zamandeas man, he had ran for mayor I don't know how many times and lost. Now, do you think he's enjoying seeing this African American come in who they perceive to be millionaires, spreading their culture, spreading their money, taking away all their young people, drawing them into their culture? You become a victim. You are not a victim. I'm sorry. You become a target. Yeah, and eventually you will become a victim. And we have to realize this. And I'm not saying if you want to expat or if you want to repat, then that's strictly up to you to do that. That is strictly your choice. It is strictly your choice. But what I'm saying is, like I told you before, make these decisions logically and rationally. Don't make them on emotion. Don't do that. Oh, wow. And the official currency is the US dollars. All this happens over money. The official currency, that's what I read. Really? The US dollar. So what is the benefit to live in there? Travel Line, since you were in the group, what is the benefit to living there? If the US dollar is the currency there, so you're not even getting a benefit economically with your money because your money is the same. Am I correct? Whoever's on here who knows, please let me know because I did read that and I thought, what? The US dollar. So what is the benefit? The benefit. Yes. Yeah, so all of this happened over money. Mm-hmm. Over money. So now we're going to talk about why it happened. We talked about what happened. Now let's talk about why it happened. So now they're in prison. So now I'm going to bring you up to today. They're in prison. The brother Ronell, the oldest brother, you're not going to believe this, but he has stage 4 cancer. They put them in one of the worst prisons. Well, hold on. Let me back up. So once they got in prison, they were not on any rosters. They were not on any prison roster, so nobody even could look them up to see if they were in prison. Okay? Nobody knew they were in prison. So they were in like a low security prison at first. Then they got transferred to a really bad prison, a terrible prison. But in this prison, they could keep their cell phones, okay? And they could pretty much talk on their cell phones whenever they wanted to because the prison was so bad that the prisoners tore the cell phones out. So you couldn't even use there was no, not the cell phones, the pay phones. So you couldn't use the pay phone. So the only way to reach the outside world was through your cell phone. So this is how the story got out. The brothers started doing interviews, like with the DC Rod man I was telling you about, the YouTube content creator, okay? They reached out to different people. So they did an interview with him, okay? Then they started doing interviews with anybody who would listen. Then they started producing videos just to get the message out. So this is how the story started slowly getting out. That's why we're just now like really hearing about this, okay? So the story slowly started getting out. I believe DC Rob started talking about it in 2021. So the story was started slowly creeping out because they had access to cell phones. Now, in the meantime, they're in one of the worst prisons there is. Worst prisons. They were killed. They had riots in this prison. They were beheading people because for some reason in Ecuador, beheading people is a big deal. I mean, that's what they do. They cut your head off and your feet off and your hands off. I just don't think I want to be a place where people think like that. Okay, because that's what was done to these boys when they were murdered. Yeah, these boys who were found on their land, their heads were cut off, their hands were cut off, their feet were cut off, and they were violated. And you know what I'm saying. They were violated where there was DNA left to show that they proved, not show, to prove they were violated. Both boys were violated. So you got DNA to show that. People's hands and feet is cut off. These people were buried alive. This is what one report said. They were buried alive because they said in their culture, when you disrespect your family or you disrespect your community, that's what they do to you. They bury you alive because they said they found soil in their nostrils. Okay, both of them, which means they were breathing in the soil. They were alive. But when they transferred them to the Stephenson's farm, that was a different type of soil. Okay, so that was proof that the boys were not murdered there. But that was never admitted into court. Neither was the DNA tested to find out whose DNA it was and where did the DNA go. So there was no forensics done, pretty much. Okay. So we get to the bodies. This is the bodies that's found, and you got to remember these two boys is related to this Zamanderas man. Okay, Zamanderas, which is the leader of this community, these families. So while they were in prison, people started coming up to them, talking to them, telling them what was going on. And they were saying that these Zamanderas people set them up, that these Zamanderas people were really known for black magic. The Zamanderas people were really angry with them, and the Zamanderas people were behind all of this. They said the Zamanderas people planted those bodies on their land, and that they were the ones that were going around using this false claims about the firearms and everything they were the ones going around spreading this rumor, and they did all that because they wanted their land. That's what it was all about. They wanted their land. So let me see. I want to make sure I go over all that. I told you. Oh, this is something else they found out. That the boys, the Zamanderas family, the police got there at 5. Okay, the Zamanderas family was on their land at about 3 o'clock. The police got there at 5 with the prosecutor, but the Zamanderas family was there at 3 o'clock digging up on their land. What were they doing there at that time? Digging up their land. These questions were never posed in the court. These questions to this day, and it's been 5 years, have never been answered. But in the meantime, they're in this prison where these riots are occurring and people are just being beheaded and killed and tortured and everything else. Right now, is developing colon cancer, unfortunately. He's the oldest brother. Now he's in stage 4 colon cancer. John is just in prison now alone. So we've got all that. We're at the land. So I'm just making sure we're going over everything. We got all that. So the people in prison were telling the brothers what really happened, and that's what makes them think that the Zamanderas family are the ones who killed the two young people. the two young bodies that were found on their land. They believe the Zamandaeus people did that. He said he befriended some indigenous people when he was inside prison, and these people told them that that was a criminal family. He said a lot of the indigenous people are really scared of them. He said they don't listen to him, or if you don't listen to this, the Zamandaeus family, this elder man, if you don't listen to him or follow his orders or take his action, whatever he tell you, he's going to do things to you that you wouldn't believe. Okay. He said, you got to do whatever he tells you to do. He said this family, and according to John, this is what John said, this family, the Zamandaeus family, has been investigated twice. Remember I told you the police told them, you got to be careful, we're scared for your safety because this family has killed tourists before. Well, listen to this. According to John, the father of the Zamandaeus family was investigated twice. Okay, he was in 2007. He was investigated for kidnapping and the murder of two Italian tourists. So this same man who's telling the prosecutor that these people, the Stephenson brothers, are selling drugs, they killed my two nephews, and they have American police weapons. These are the same people who in 2007 were charged with kidnapping. They were not even charged, investigated for kidnapping and the murder of two Italian tourists. 2012, this man was investigated again. Guess what for this time? The murder of his two nieces. Yes. This is the criminal background of this person who's making these allegations against them. Yes. So we're going to talk. Let me tell you about these. Okay, let me look and see your question first. What's the only benefit then? What is that? Geo, the murders don't even fit our culture. No, it does. No, you're right. See, okay, look, good point. Good point. Look, y'all, good point. What did she say? That type of murder don't even fit our culture. We don't even do that. But who does that? Who does that? Whenever you hear about like stuff like that here, it's not our culture who does that. Whenever you hear about somebody getting their head cut off and their hands cut off in a crime, that is not African Americans who they arrest for that. It is not. So the crime doesn't even fit the culture. It doesn't even make sense. It just doesn't even make sense. The whole thing doesn't even make sense. And then why would you bury them on your land? Why would you bury them one place and then you're going to come back and then bury them on your land? That didn't make sense either. None of it makes sense. Well, hey, Alexis, thank you. The cost of cars, electronics, and a few other things are 5 to 10 times. No, they're not. Are you serious, Mr. Foreman? More than the U.S. Everything else is very, very low in cost. Okay, that's what they said. Okay, they said, now tell me, Mr. Foreman, they said real estate was low. They said that was the biggest attraction, is that the real estate is very inexpensive. Okay, but tell me, Mr. Foreman, what about the crime? What do they even talk about this case with the Stephenson brothers? Do they even talk about when you live in the rural areas, how dangerous it is? Do they even talk about safety issues? And if they do, what are they talking about? Oh, honey, that's fine. Just take your time. You know I'm here. I love you too. You just let me know whenever you're ready. But how the Caribbean man on the Canadian man, I don't know. That's what I don't get. See, that's what I don't get. That's what I don't get. If this is sacred land, usually you can't even sell sacred land. So how did the Canadian man, and the Canadian man didn't even develop the land. According to the dad, the land was just there. It was just there. So I don't know how the Canadian man got the land. I don't even know how they found out about this Canadian man. But it sounds like maybe this land has some kind of curse on it. Maybe it was cursed. I don't know. Because if you go to sacred land, now just think, and if you're doing anything other than praying, that's considered an abomination. So maybe they felt like this was an abomination and you're doing this on sacred land. Maybe the Canadian man was having some type of problems and he decided, let me get out of here now. Because it doesn't even sound like the Canadian man was living on the land. It just sounds like the land was there. Yeah. Well, he did it for sacrifice. Do you remember? Yeah, some of these cultures, they believe in human sacrifice. And they believe if you sacrifice humans, you can get things. So this guy sounds like he's really into money. He's into sacrificing and he's doing whatever he has to do for power and riches. Okay. So yes, he's going to sacrifice his nieces. He's going to sacrifice his nephews. He's going to sacrifice whoever he has to sacrifice because this is what it goes along with it. These gods demand blood. They want human flesh. So yeah, this is what they said he was doing. Hey, okay, hey, Miss Kiki, I'm just 34 minutes into this conversation now, but I have to see people fear. Yes, they do, for the lack of knowledge. And that's what it was about. That's exactly what it was about. That's what it's about, Miss Strickland. Lacking knowledge, lacking the knowledge to be prepared for this. But they were young. And even if they had the knowledge, they wouldn't believe it. Because when you're at a certain age, you don't believe certain things are what they are. You just don't. You don't believe it. You won't believe that racism is this bad. You won't believe people will set you up. You won't believe that somebody can go to the police officials and make up all these lies and have you arrested and have you put in jail. You won't believe any of that. You're not going to believe any of that until you experience that. Until that happens to you, then you're going to say, oh, wow, this is really real. This is really what happens. And yeah, it's really, truly what happens. So I was left with the question okay, so let's talk about this prison. The prison where the brothers were located was in the southern part of Ecuador, the Andes Mountains. Okay, so now we in this prison. We're going to move you to a prison that's on the southern part of the Andes Mountains. Now, this is all going on in your REPAT life, your REPAT dream life. So you move to where and pretty much in the middle of nowhere. And this was like the worst prison that you could ever go to. It was run by the gangs. They said the brother said it was run by gangs. And they said on February 23rd, they had a riot and 79 inmates were killed. Yes, it took place in a prison called Carcel de Turat. And I heard these videos were bad, you guys. And if you want to see the video, you can contact DC Born Rob and he will let you see the video. There was a massacre, they said, of a whole unit. They killed about 34 people in 2 hours. Now, why would you put them in this prison? Now, think about that. Why would you put them in this prison with these gang? You know they're not gang members. They know they're not murderers. They said themselves, the police said themselves, we don't want you around these indigenous people because we're scared they're going to kill you because they're known for killing people. They're known for killing people. But you put them in this prison where the gang runs the prison. And if they make you mad, they're going to kill your whole unit. Because according to John and Ronell, if you offend these gang people, not only are they going to kill you, they're going to kill your whole unit. They're going to come and kill you. They're going to come and kill your cellmate. They're going to come and kill everybody related to you, connected to you. So why would you put them in there? Why would you do that? Why would the state of Ecuador do that to 2 American citizens who they know that the people who have accused them have a sketchy background, have been investigated by them twice. Why would you do that? We know why they did it. We know exactly why they did it. So Ecuador's prison system is known for being overcrowded, and they have a weak security system. Everybody knows that. Everybody know. And this was a time, remember what else is going on? What else is going on, people? Not only do you have them in this overcrowded prison, which is one of the worst prisons in your country, where you know the gangs run everything, guess what else is going on? It's overcrowded in the midst of what in 2021? In the midst of COVID. So in the midst of COVID, they're in this prison, overcrowded, where the gangs are running the prison, where there's a riot and 73 people or did they say killed or wounded? What if 79 inmates were killed? 34 people were killed in 2 hours. And this is these people. You transferred them there. They weren't there in the beginning. They were transferred there. So let's finish. They blame the officials for the incident. You know, the health organization, everybody, you know, they blame the Ecuadorian government. They're not doing what they're so everybody knows this is going on. Everybody internationally knows what Ecuador's prisons are like, and they know what goes on in Ecuador. They know that. Okay. This is no mystery. They said that there's so much corruption that it's unbelievable. Because again, it goes back to the police only get paid $500 to $600 a month. The people policing the prisons, the gang people have money, so the gang people are going to pay them to let them do what they want to do. And that's how it goes down, and we all know that, especially in these developing nations where they don't have much. He said the authorities have little say over what goes on in these prisons. Little to say what goes on. So that's the only reason why we found out, is because they were allowed to use their phones at this prison, and that's when they were able to reach out to people and get this and get it on YouTube. Okay. Let me go see what y'all are saying. These boys were set up. No, 2 ways. Yeah, they were set up. They were set up really bad. They were set up really, 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 really bad. Really, they were set up so bad that if I was advising them at that time, I would have just told them, give them the land, pay them the money, and get out of there. Get out of there and start all over again. Because you're fighting the losing battle. You're fighting these people that you can't win. If the locals can't win against them, how are you going to win against them? That's what I said. That's what we got to realize, who we are and where we are. Who we are and where we are. Hello, Kiki. Often a problem to go. Hello, Kiki. It's often a problem to go onto these small communities in some countries. Remember in Guyana, where a land dispute led to the deaths of 2 AA women by the bill in Ghana. No, I'm gonna have to look for that one. What was that? Recently? See, I gotta look for that, because see, these are the things, these are the stories. We need to tell these stories, you know, y'all, because this is important. This is important because this is the stuff we don't hear about this. At least I didn't. And I've been doing, I don't know how much research. And then finally I see something about, oh, people are being killed, murdered, expats being murdered. I'm like, what? Expats are being murdered? Yes. And it's not just Black ones, it's white ones. It's not just Americans, it's UK people. It's not just UK people, it's Australian people. It's people from the West. And ultimately, the bottom line is the dollar. That's what they want. They want the dollar. I want to check this one out also. Because when we, like I said, when we repatriate, the thing is that we repatriate that we know what's going on, that we educate ourselves and that we know what's going on, that you don't just go over to these places thinking willy-nilly. You can't do that. And that's what's happened. That's what happens too many times. We just go thinking willy-nilly. And you can't do that. It was a while ago. I'm gonna look it up. Oh, okay, thank you. Hey, how you doing? Those AAs in Ghana were killed. Oh, in a land dispute. They were from Detroit. I'm gonna look that up. We're gonna talk about that one, y'all. Now, do you know anything else about it? Is it on YouTube, or do you know the names where I can find it, or what year it was? Because we're gonna talk about this one. This is what I mean. A land dispute. A land dispute. That costs you your life, because 9 times out of 10, they're gonna spend all their money to get this land, like these boys did, and their parents invested money. These boys' parents have invested money. They're still investing money. Ronell is in the hospital fighting for his life. You know who has to pay for that? His dad. His dad, because they don't take our health insurance. He doesn't have health insurance. Everything is private pay. It's a private hospital. It's private pay. He has to pay for everything. Somebody stole his cancer medication. He had to replace it. While he was in this private hospital and the dad is paying all this money, guess what else happened to him? While he's fighting colon cancer stage 4, he got COVID. Guess what else happened to him after he got COVID? He got tuberculosis. Guess who's paying for all of this? The father. The father, the poor father, is paying for all of this while his 2 sons, one is in a hospital, the other one is still locked up in prison. Because they believed what we were told when we were little kids. And that sometimes, in reality, it just doesn't apply to us. And we have to accept that. And like I said, there ain't no reason to be mad. I wouldn't be mad. I'm not mad about it. I'm just glad I know. I'm just glad I know. I'm just glad I know. Yes, the Ghana story is popular. It was buried when Ghana tried to capture. And see, that's what they do, okay? They bury stories. Like this story about the Stephenson brothers, y'all, it's not on it's not on the national media. Go look. There's no big people reporting this. It's just DC born Rob trying to get this story out here. It's him. And now he has a lawyer who's trying to get it out. But it's the YouTube people, it's the YouTube community who's telling this story. It's us who's telling the story. There's nobody else telling this story. There's no big people telling this story. Why? Because they know it's going to hurt. It can hurt them economically. We don't want to hurt our friends economically. That's how the government's going to look at it. We don't want to hurt our friends economically. We don't want to put a bad image out there of our friends. So we got to be careful how we talk about this story. And furthermore, we don't want to upset people because this is a sensitive subject. We don't want to put it out there in the media and people begin to get upset. Because then we got another problem. Then people are going, we know what those African Americans do when they get upset. Do we really want them to know in mass numbers about this story? Do we really want them to know? They'll be shutting down our cities. They'll be rioting. They'll be protesting. Do we really want this story to get out like that? This is the thing that you guys got to understand. And it's not to say they're not doing anything about it. I would not tell you they're not doing anything about this because they know about it. And let me, the information, this is the congressman guys at the bottom of the screen. That's one of them that you can write to about this situation, okay? Because that's what we got to do pretty much. We just got to write them and ask them, can you please look into this? Can you please do what you can to help them in this situation? Because that's what we're going to have to do. We're going to have to turn up the heat just a little bit. And that's what we got to do to let them know. We know about this, sir. We're fully aware that this is going on. These are Americans. We know this is going on. So we just need you to help us out just a little bit. Just a little bit. We know you warned us about going there. And see, you know how I know that they're turning up the heat a little bit? Because the policy is changing. The policy changed in April. There was a policy in April, and the policy changed again in June of this year. So when you see policy changes like that, that's how you know the heat is being turned up. Except government is not going to come out and talk to us about what they do. They hold their cards to their chest. They're not going to tell you step by step, this is what we're doing. But you better believe they're working on this. You better believe they're doing something about this. They're working behind the scenes. You better believe that. Because look at the two changes in the two foreign policies that I put on my page. April, it changed. Trump just changed one, and now Biden changed one. You don't think nobody's working behind the scenes? I know they are, because I know how they operate. I know how they think. And you're right, Travel Line. If they think the story is going to mess with your economy, they're going to squash the story. Just like ASAP Rocky. Remember, these people are talking about. So why don't they do the Livingston Hostage Negotiation Act? Why don't they do that? That's what they did with ASAP Rocky. Remember when he got in trouble in Sweden, when he got in a fight with some Swedish people? Okay, so remember that? We seen him on TV beating up the Swedish people. I'm like, oh, poor ASAP Rocky, he's gone. I remember thinking that, oh, poor thing, they're about to lock him up. Next thing I know, ASAP Rocky having a baby with Rihanna, and he home. And I'm like, well, Lord, what happened? Because you know what happened? Donald felt like that wasn't a fair trial. So he sent the hostage negotiation team to get him out. And you know what he told the Swedish people? He told them, either you let him come home, or we're going to, everything they sold, they were going to quit doing economic business with Sweden, pretty much. Okay? I'm paraphrasing. You want to know exactly what he said, you got to look through the article. But there were going to be serious economic sanctions if you did not let ASAP Rocky come home. Sweden didn't want that. They knew they needed the money from the United States tourists. They know they needed to trade with us. So they let him come home. But that's only because Donald sent somebody in to negotiate, turn up the heat, and tell him either you let him come home, or either we're going to do economic sanctions. We're going to hit you. I'm not going to say sanctions, but we're going to hit you in your pockets, because that's what they were doing. They were going to tax them. They were going to do all kinds of things to poor Sweden. So many things that Sweden called him a bully. They said he was bullying us, and we had to let him come home. But that's pretty much what you got to do when you're hostage negotiating. You pretty much got to do that. This is not going on with this. We don't know. We don't know if this is what was being done, and somebody said, no, we're not going to play like that. We know these people. We don't know. We don't know none of that. To us, it looks like nothing is going on. But to me, I feel like something is going on, because like I told you, those two policy changes, and policy doesn't just change like that. Policy reacts to something that's going on. And did you see the new policy? You probably did know my communities. We're going to talk about it in a minute. But one of them was about wrongfully convicted Americans. Okay? So that's how you know there's something is going on behind the scenes. It's very difficult repatriating to countries where you don't have a contact. Even one person can halfway truck. Yeah, yes, it is difficult. It's extremely difficult. And even if you have people, it's difficult. It's extremely difficult. And I've experienced, and that's why I said there's got to be more to this than what people are telling us. People are telling us you can go do this and you can go do that, but they're not telling you everything that's going on. They're not telling you everything that's going on. And that's so wrong to me. That is just so wrong. What about the AA mother and daughter that brought a store in Africa and were murdered by the locals because of jealousy? I believe it was in South Africa. You see, so this isn't the only story. I didn't even know all these stories were out there. I didn't even know till I started looking. I didn't even know, and she was an AA too. You see what I mean? It's they don't like us. Then this is what they said. We don't like them because they're Americans and because they're black. These are things that have to be talked about, people. We can't just act like this stuff doesn't happen. We can't just act like, it's cool and it's okay when it's really not. When it's really not. If you want to go and put yourself in that situation and take those chances, then it's okay. It's okay. Nobody's telling you not to go. But what my channel is about is make a logical decision to go. Make a rational decision to go. If you want to go to a country where you know they wrongfully convict Americans, then you do that. But do that knowing this is a chance that I'm going to take. This is a chance that I'm going to take because it's so bad that they created a level D. A level D. The State Department has created a level D. And you know what D stands for? Unlawful detention. Unlawfully detained. That this country is known for unlawfully detaining people. Americans. It's just you gotta be wise, people. You gotta be wise. Lily Beth, I heard about it from an AA on YouTube who were telling the story about why they didn't move to Africa. I will go to okay, please. Oh yes, because I want to do as many of these stories as I can to keep us informed. Okay. I want to do as many to tell the truth on this expat and this repat journey because people have been lying to us. They've been lying to us. And if I wouldn't have went to the Gambia myself and experienced what I experienced and researched some people and seen what was going on over there, I would have went over there just like the rest of them and got stuck in the middle of that cesspool. And I'm like, oh no, no, this is a lie. These people are lying to us. And I'm like, they can't be the only ones that be lying. This must be what these repats and expats do. They must lie to us. Nobody's telling us about these murders. Nobody. You don't see that. Did y'all hear anything about that? No. One person talking about it on YouTube. It should be all of this story, the Stephenson Brothers story should be all over. But it's not. It is not. But I told you the reasons why I feel like it's not. I feel like the reasons why it's not is really political. I'm going to be honest with you. I think it's political. I think it's truly political that they don't want this. They don't want people to really fully know because this is going to anger people. Because at the end of the day, these are somebody's children. These are American children. And they're over there in prison, and one of them's in a hospital for nothing because you were, and then the people who are accusing them have been accused and investigated themselves of terrible things and are known for this. You didn't even test the DNA. You didn't even test you didn't even test the soil. You didn't test any of that. You tested none of the forensics. But you said we did it. Because these people who you know do things like this, who are known for killing people, said we did it. So okay, the Stephenson, what people are saying is that they're just devastated that this story hasn't gained traction in the mainstream media. But I gave you my opinion of why that is not happening, okay? And the only thing the U.S. government offered to do for us, this is what the lawyers have said, the brothers have said, is they could give them a list of lawyers, okay? Once they found out, they said they could give them a list of lawyers that they could recommend and they provided them with names of retired and civil law attorneys, and the government contacts them once every 6 months. But this was in 2021 when COVID was going on, so I haven't heard any update on that now. They said they usually communicate with them through chat, video calls because of the COVID outbreak. John said, it feels like the government just wants to sit back. They don't want to touch it. Okay. So that's what I'm telling you. When it's that type of vibe that we don't want to touch it, it's because it's like a political hot topic, and it can go bad. If it goes left, it can go left, and it can go bad real fast. So I don't think that's what I think they're trying to avoid, why they're saying stay off this issue. Don't talk about this. Keep it. Let us try to work it out. Let us work in the background to work it out. Because like I said, public policy changes, and I'm going to tell you about those policy changes. Let me know that they're in the background working and trying to work something out. Even though it's the Brittany lady, so Brittany Garner, I think that's her name, the basketball lady, even though they're doing all this because of her, we know it's because of her, but we can still use it to our advantage because the policy is just not for her. They did it for her, but it's for all of us. The Stephenson brothers can use this policy I'm about to tell you about. It feels like the government wants to sit back. Yeah. I bet it does because they're not saying anything. But you got to remember, this is somebody else's country. They can't just go in. Well, they could, but that's going to cause a war. You can't just go in, kick the door down, and just come in and take somebody. No. They got presidents like we got presidents. You got to negotiate, people. You got to practice diplomacy. That takes time. You don't want to create international enemies, especially when they're that close to you. You don't want that. You want to keep things kosher. But you got to be firm and you got to let them know. We're not going to tolerate this. We give you guys money. We help you guys out. Now we need your help because you can't keep doing our people like this. And, it's probably going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So what they say, we need a little more leverage. Well, let's create policy. And then you see these policies. Okay, he said in their case, Ronell is saying that the only story is being put out there is the victim's family. No one is really listening to them. Okay. So this is what the attorney is saying. Time and time again, the brothers were left with no attorney, with attorneys who were too fearful of the indigenous family to speak up. So they had several attorneys who even quit because they didn't want to take on this indigenous family. They didn't want to defend them because this indigenous family, people are so scared of them. They never even, the representation never cross-examined the family members, the indigenous family members. I didn't even give objections. He said they didn't give rebuttals. They didn't do anything for fear of retaliation. They just kind of sat there and just let them say what they want to say. Pretty much that's how it went down. All right. But it seems like no one knows what's going on or no one cares about what's going on. So that's how they feel at this point. They feel like either we don't know what's going on with them or we don't care about what's going on with them. And I want to say it's that we don't, now people are finding out, but I just don't think people really knew about what was going on with them. But now I feel like more people are finding out. Gambia changed me. I was going to buy land from Blacksett 2 years ago, and even the bad family made Gambia seem like an opportunity. But when Cynthia said she got malaria yearly, I changed my mind. Yeah, I can't do that. I just can't. I had to be honest with myself. When I went 11 times, and every time I stay longer than 2 weeks, I start having sickness. I start getting sick physically. I start having stomach problems because of the food. I can't deal with the heat like that. I just start having all type of issues. It's just letting me know this isn't a place where you can just come and live like that. You can come visit all you want, but you just can't come live like that. And but it doesn't mean everybody. And that's why people, I don't understand why people get upset when I say I can't do that. Just because I can't do that doesn't mean you can't do that. People have to do what they feel is best for them, not what's best for me. And I just know from all that time I've been and all them times that I've stayed, I just know. And I've been to 3 different countries. 3 different countries. The only one I really didn't get sick in was Cameroon. And Cameroon, because everything was controlled because I went with the university. So that experience was so sterile that I couldn't even really experience what Africa was really like. But once I started going on my own and I got to experience it, what it was real, what my day-to-day life would be for real living there. No, I just want to visit. I do, you guys. I want to visit and I want to, stay for a while and come back to the United States. I happen to like the United States. I truly do. I happen to like it. Only problem I have with the United States is that after you get over a certain age, when you stop working. When you stop working in this country, the United States, you really have no value here. Okay. And that's when I see it's really time to go someplace where they value you and your money has more leverage. But it's got to be a safe place. It can't just be any place. You see what I mean? And that's what I'm looking for. Someplace that's a safe place where I can stay there and it's warm and then I can come back here, where I can live in both places. But right now, I just haven't found that place, and that's why we're looking for that place together. Brittany is Brittany is an odd place. Russia. Oh, Brittany is in an odd place. Russia is still floating with those sanctions. I always wonder who is Brittany, because that's my niece's name. I'm like, Brittany, is Brittany on it? But I just remembered I was talking about Brittany. Yeah, Brittany is in an odd place. But Brittany was playing basketball. She went there every year. She went there every year. And see, this is what me and my girlfriend was talking about, y'all. We said somebody told on Brittany. Okay, it was a hater that told on Brittany. Because let me tell y'all, Brittany walked through that place, through that checkpoint, too easy with her head held up high like she didn't have nothing on her. She knew she had them big THC cartridges with her. She knew that. She knew that. You see her taking them out. You see her opening them up. That wasn't the man, the airport security. That it wasn't immigration. It was her. She knew that stuff was in there. So I'm saying to myself, well, Dad, she don't even look surprised. She don't even look upset. She looked like she knew it was in there. So that's why I'm telling myself she knew it was in there. I believe Brittany took that to her whenever she went to Russia. I seriously do. But I think this time she made somebody upset, or somebody was upset. Maybe the people was upset with Americans. Who knows? And they said, here she comes. We know she had THC on her. We know she does this all the time. Let's see if she got it this time. Because why all of a sudden, when Russia's at war with Ukraine, when Russia's all mad at everybody, why are you deciding you're going to try to do this, to bring that into their country, when you know how they are? That don't even make no sense to me. That made absolutely no sense. That's why I said, oh, she must do that all the time. That's when I thought to myself, oh, she must do this all the time. She must bring whatever she was bringing in. She must do it all the time. Because how does that even make sense? I'm going to bring it in when we at the height of a war, when we at the height of confusion. That doesn't even make sense. All these foreigners want is our ready and available cash. They call AAs liquid gold or liquid cash. I've been on YouTube watching these countries for years. Yeah. And especially when you start talking about, oh, bleeding heartstrings, start pulling them heartstrings about your home in Africa and come home to Africa. Yeah, especially when they start doing that. Especially when they start doing that. That's why you can't be falling for that. You got to sit up and make these decisions logically and rationally. Yeah. You can't just say, I'm going to do this and then I'm gone, like they're telling us to do, like the people in the Gambia is telling us to do. You can't do that. Well, you can, and you could just be like them. Then you're going to be on YouTube begging. These boys, the Stephenson Brothers wasn't on YouTube asking for nothing. And just think how big their YouTube channel could have been. They weren't even on YouTube. But the repats in the Gambia all on YouTube, begging for money for this, begging for money for that. That's embarrassing. And we already got these negative views. People got these negative stereotypical images of us. And then you go over to the Gambia and you see these stereotypical images fulfilled. That's just really sad to me and unfortunate. Government isn't running that country. To move those two young men, it'll take a lot of money. The government isn't running the country. So I can understand what you mean when you say the government isn't running the country. It's like the indigenous people kind of run the villages. You're right. The indigenous people kind of run the areas. But to say the government isn't running the country, then who is it that we negotiate with if we're not negotiating with the government? Who are we talking to? So if you say that the government is getting their direction from the gang leaders, they probably, I don't know. I'm not going to say that they are, but I'm sure they have influence. But ultimately, it is the government who we're going to talk to. Now, how that government in Ecuador makes their decisions, I don't know. I haven't studied them enough to even know how they make their decisions. Okay? But I know we're not talking to gang leaders over there. We're not talking to locals over there. We're talking to whoever is the government. That's who we're talking to. And if the government is not going to play the way we want them to play, then I don't think they'll play with them at all. I don't think the U.S. is going to play with them at all. Because like I said, and a lot of money, if $100,000 is not a lot of money, that's all they wanted was $100,000 in their land. That's all they wanted. So they didn't even ask for a lot of money. They asked for the land, and they could have given them that. They could have given them that. But it was the principle, and this is something else you don't know. The president of Ecuador offered to give them a pardon, but they have to ask for the pardon. Okay? They didn't want the pardon. They don't want to be pardoned because a pardon means you got to say, I'm guilty of this. All right? They don't want to say they're guilty of something they didn't do. They want to be completely exonerated. Completely exonerated. So if it was really about it's going to take a lot of money to get them out, we could have been got them out if money was the issue. You don't see how much land they had. You didn't see how much land they had. You didn't see how much the father had spent. So money is at this point, money is not the issue. It's that they want their dignity back. They want their pride back. They want to be able to walk around with their head held up, not as I'm a criminal in Ecuador and I'm escaping. They didn't want that, to my understanding. Brittany made it through. Brittany made it through every checkpoint until she got to Russia. And how did that happen? Think about that. That's just amazing to me. She got this in her carry-on. She made it through all them checkpoints. All of them. Every last one of them. Until she got to Russia. They must have known who she was and they really weren't checking. Because if I got some water like this, can y'all see that? In my carry-on, they're going to stop me. They're going to stop me and pull my luggage to the side and pull me to the side Like I got over $10,000 worth of cash with me. So I'm not sure how she made it through all them checkpoints. I really don't. I really don't know. That's amazing to me. That's amazing to me. That is truly amazing to me. So now we're going to go back. Let me make sure we talked about the why. So I wanted to make sure we understood why this happened. I think we did. I think we talked about all that. Yeah, we did because it was money. Okay, we talked about that. We talked about what happened, the why it happened. And now we talked about what the government and social media is doing. And we talked about what their attorneys are doing. So now we're going to analyze it and talk about what we think. We've kind of been doing that all along. But let's talk about what you think we could be doing. What do y'all think we could be doing? What else do you think could be done? Journey of Faith said there needs to be more money. I don't agree with that because I think if it was a money issue, it would have been solved a long time ago because they offered money. Remember, they said they wanted money. They only wanted $100,000 in the land and they could have their freedom. But no, they didn't want that. They didn't want that. So let's look and see at these two foreign policies. They want to use these foreign policies to get them out. Okay. And there's two foreign policies that we're going to look at. The ones that they are calling for, one of them is called the Levinson Act. Okay. Now, what that one is, that came from Levinson. I hope I'm saying his name right. Levinson. He was arrested abroad. Okay. I think it was for weapons in Iraq. And arrest and detention of citizens abroad. Okay. So it was this Levinson Act that was created by Donald Trump. And this Levinson Act meant that if someone was being detained unlawfully, which means you're accusing them of something that they did not do, and that's unlawful detention, then we can send a convoy over there and we can negotiate for them as if it was a hostage. Okay. So this included people who were in prison. This is what DC Rob and the gentleman's attorneys wanted them to lobby for. This is what they are trying to get, the Levinson Act. They want a hostage negotiating team sent to Ecuador they want a hostage negotiating team sent to Ecuador to try to get this money. No, I'm sorry, not money. To try to get this back. Okay. So hold on. To try to get this, to get the boys back, just like they did in ASAP Rocky. Okay, with ASAP Rocky. That's what they did with him. That's how they got him back. And they wanted them to do the same thing. Okay, we don't know whether they did that. We don't know whether they tried that. We don't know what happened. We just know that's what people were writing these Congress people about. Now, the Congress people, they're on my screen. You can see their address. So they were emailing and writing the people, asking them to send a negotiation team over to the convoy, okay? A convoy over to Ecuador to get these young men out. We don't know, again, we don't know whether that happened. We don't know anything about that. We don't even know if it met the qualifications. But we do know this. This has been going on since 2021. We've been contacting these Congress people, right? So we do know this. Now look, July 19, 2022, okay, at 9 a.m. Biden signed an executive order aiming to deter taking of U.S. hostages and wrongful detention. Now, do y'all think that's just a coincidence? Now, think about that. We've been writing these Congress people since 2021. DC Rob and some other people have been on this. constantly on this, okay? Now, they wanted the Livingston Act, the Hostage Negotiating Act. They wanted that. They've been pressing for that. But they feel like nothing's being done. But then all of a sudden, we see this new policy. But the policy, remember, they did it for Brittany. And they tell you in here they did it for Brittany, okay? It's an executive order known as the Boistering Efforts to Bring Hostages and Wrongfully Detained and the Wrongfully Detained United States nationals home. They will authorize financial sanctions and visa bans on malicious actors involved in hostage taking. So basically, they are this act, this act, executive order that Biden just signed, the blustering efforts to bring hostages and the wrongfully detained United States nationals home. This executive order, okay, was just signed July 2022. Well, it was published. I'm sorry, this article was published. So it was signed somewhere around that time. Okay, now what this executive order does, Biden says one of his people said, it's an executive order that reflects the administration's commitment to bring home Americans who are wrongly convicted, who are wrongly detained. Okay? And another thing they said they were going to do, the official also said the State Department would introduce a new risk indicator letter. Remember, I told you about that. They're going to have a D now, a travel advisory to inform Americans of the risk of wrongful detention by the foreign government. The D indicator joins the existing K indicator, which identifies the risk of kidnapping. Okay. So again, this Biden administration works to release. They're working to release Brittany Garner from Russia with this order. Okay. So we already know about Brittany's arrest. This to me is an opportunity for us to ask that this executive order be applied to the Stephenson brothers also. Why can't this be applied to them? It should be applied to them. It will be applied to them. We need to get it applied to them. But the only way you can do that is that we people, we have to go and ask that it be applied to them. We have to write the people on this screen, this email person. Let me put the other people's names up here. I'm going to switch. Just other people you can write to. Okay. And we got to write to these people. And we got to ask these people. We have to ask these people, can you please, because I believe in saying please, can you please use this executive order to help get the Stephenson brothers released? Because they are wrongfully detained. They've been wrongfully detained. They caught this stuff on her. Now think about that. I don't even know how that's wrongful detainment. I really don't. I don't know how that's wrongful detainment, but that's not for me to say. But they caught it on her. They caught nothing on them. The one brother, Ronell, said they found weed on him. They did find 2 baggies of weed in the house, that he smoked marijuana, and they found 2 baggies of marijuana, but they found no cocaine. They found no cocaine processing. They found none of that. Okay, so they found no guns. They found no evidence. They have no evidence that they are even tied to these murdered victims. But they created this whole policy to help get her out. Why can't we use this whole policy to help get them out? And the only way that's going to happen, people, is that we have to write, and we have to ask them to help us do that. We have to ask them to please use this policy to help get them out, to help get them from being incarcerated. That's what we're going to have to do. Okay. Yes, I believe she knew. Yes, I believe she knew she had it, and she had a prescription for it. She's a palm for Russia. She had a prescription for it. Okay, but this is the thing about that. those prescriptions are only in your state, right? People don't realize that. The prescriptions are only good in your state. Once you go out of your state, the federal government does not honor those prescriptions. That's why you can't use your medical insurance to pay for it. Your medical insurance won't even pay for it. And those are prescriptions. Those are real live prescriptions with real live doctor signatures on it. But because the federal government does not acknowledge marijuana as a medication, you can't go on airways. You can't go on the airplane with it. I don't even know how she got on the airplane with it out of the United States. I really don't. I really don't. Because you can't, everybody knows it. The airport is federally owned. That's FDA. None of that, when you get on federal property, it does not apply. Let me tell you about this one gentleman here. He was a young guy. He had a medical card for marijuana. He was licensed to smoke marijuana. Okay. He was at a park here, just a park, just, having a hike in a park smoking. But it was a federal park. Okay. The federal police stopped him. You know, he got charged with a federal crime. And he showed him his card. He showed him everything. But they told him, that's when they told him, it doesn't apply to the federal park. If this was a state park, you would be in no trouble. But a federal park, you can't do it. You can't. We don't acknowledge this at a federal park. Yeah. So that's what she got people, and I know they told her, I don't know what she knows, but I know someone should have told her that. And as many times she goes to Russia every year. She does this all the time. So somebody was letting this slide all this time. Somebody had to be. And people go to work, they be on the same shift every day. Every day I'm going to do second shift. Every day I'm going to stand at the same post. So this person, it just doesn't make sense. That didn't make sense to me at all. Not at all. Yeah, honey, I brought seasoning to Nigeria for cooking, and I was stopped, and I had to be fully checked before moving. Every time I went to Nigeria and left, I was stopped. Every time I left Nigeria. Now, I was never stopped by Americans, except coming back one time. But every time I left Nigeria, I was stopped for smuggling drugs. They had it actually stamped on my ticket. It's a code that they put on there. And they had me identified as a potential drug smuggler every single time. And one time, this is how I found out. I asked the lady, I was talking to her before I went to the checkpoint. I just happened to see her in the airport. And that's why my grandmother always said, it always pays to be nice to people, because you don't never know who you're being nice to. So me and this lady was just laughing, having a nice conversation. She happened to be in charge of the checkpoint at Delta Airlines. Okay. I didn't know that at that time. But when I'm getting on my plane, I give her my ticket. She look at my ticket. She just shake her head like that and kind of smile. And I'm like, what's wrong? She said, I'm sorry, my sister, but we have to do a security check on you, a double check on you. I'm like, why? She said, she turned the ticket around and she pointed to it and she said, you must have made someone mad when you checked in because they put you down as a risk for smuggling drugs. So we have to check you thoroughly. I kid you not. I kid you not. So I started laughing. And she kept saying, I'm sorry. And I kept telling her, no, just do whatever you got to do. I don't mind. And she said, I know. She said, I'm so sorry. She said, guess what she said? She said, I know you don't have drugs on you because you're laughing. She said, by this point, because this point, y'all, they have moved me out the line. They took all my stuff, had me up with my arms up, had my leg. You know how they got you standing, where they checking you, they doing everything to you. And she's saying, by this point, if you had drugs on you, you'd be crying. Because when we get them over here, they're crying. You're still laughing. I know you have nothing on you. And I didn't. But I just thought it was funny that somebody was so jealous and envious that I don't even remember this person that they put me down as a drug smuggler because they wanted to get me back. These are the things you have to face when you go to another country. And that's the reality of it. You don't know what you're going to do to offend somebody. You say, what did you say? I can't understand you. That can offend the wrong person. And who knows what's going to happen to you? Who knows? Let's see. When you leave the country alone, when you get off the airplane alone, in a new country, yep, you will be alone. If you don't like the rules, stay home. He's right. He's absolutely right. Mr. Foreman, you said it all. This is the sum of the show. When you get off that plane, when you get on the plane, when you leave to go to another country, you're alone. When you get off the plane, you're alone. When you're in that new country, you're alone. If you can't follow those rules, or if you don't like those rules, then you need to stay home. Because they're not going to change to fit you. They're not going to change to fit us. They're not. You need to quit saying, but then in America they do this. In America they do that, because you're not in America, and that doesn't apply. And I actually think when we say that, I think they get mad at us. I think they get even madder when you say this doesn't happen in America. Well, guess what? You're not in America. You are not in America. So it doesn't matter what happens in America. This ain't America. If you want American rules, then you need to stay in America. You need to stay in America. And especially if you go into these countries who got warnings with K's for kidnapping and D's for unlawful detainment, level 3s, level 4s, reconsider travel. If they're telling you to reconsider travel, people, there is a reason. The United States is a very influential country. They know that. They take care before they sit and tell their people, reconsider travel, because they know there's people like me who seriously gonna do that. I'm seriously going, if you tell me to reconsider travel, I'm going to seriously reconsider travel. Because I know if something happens to me, like the poor lady in Russia, and I ain't talking about Brittany, I'm talking about the one who got beat up by her boyfriend, and now she in prison. Where is her? Who's coming to get her? What about the domestic violence laws? Guess what, y'all? They don't have domestic violence laws. They don't have the domestic violence laws that we have. They don't have that. So that don't apply. None of that applies. None of that applies. Women don't have the same rights that we have in the United States. So none of that applies. Just like Mr. Foreman said, the laws are not going to change for us because we're repats or because we're expats. The laws are going to be the laws. Either you follow the laws or you need to stay home, because you're going to wind up in trouble. You're going to, before you know it, these boys, the Stephenson brothers, had no idea what they were doing was going to cause such a problem. No idea. None. But look what it did. Look what a big mess it caused. Now these two boys is in prison, pretty much fighting for their life, fighting for their freedom. Fighting for their freedom. Depending on American policy to give them back their life. I would hate, Lord, I would hate to have to depend on foreign policy to give me my freedom. I would hate that. I would hate that. Be careful, people. Be careful. All that mess them people doing in the Gambia, all the lies they doing in the Gambia, all that ruckus bad causes in the Gambia, all the threats they throw everywhere to people in the Gambia. One day, government gonna get tired of them. One day, the indigenous people are gonna get tired of them. What's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? Yeah, this is unbelievable. Y'all, this is not just Black people. I'm telling y'all, this is American people. This is UK people they killing. This is Australian people they killing. So I'm like, where do we go? What do we do? I'm not trying to go to jail in no country, y'all. No country am I trying to go to jail. I can't do that. I know. You know what my grandma and my uncles always told me? If you are the type of person who can go to jail, don't do jail. Don't commit crimes and don't do anything wrong. And I'm not the type of person who can go to jail. And I know that. So I don't commit crime. I don't commit crime because I can't do jail. I don't like filth. I don't like dirt. I don't like disorganization. I don't like clutter. I don't like people all around me, close in my vicinity. I don't like that. I don't like that. And I don't like people telling me what to do. I am just not jail material. I'm sorry, I'm not. So I can't go places where I can't say, because I will say what I want to say. And that's one thing about me. So I can't go a place where I know speaking my mind will get me in trouble. I can't go to a place like that because I like my freedom too much. I like my freedom too much. I like my freedom too much. The laws and the rules are kind of tricky because leaving America, going to Nigeria, I had to pick hair comb, a tooth, and I go through checkpoint. But leaving Nigeria, I had to discard it. Oh, and that's the difference. Yes, because it could be used as a weapon. I bet you that's what they said. See, here it's probably different because they told me those flights leaving Nigeria, leaving Africa, really, the Delta flight. This is what they told me when I was in Lagos. That Delta, if you flew Delta, the security on that Delta flight is very, very tight. Because if you remember the Nigerian bomber who came with the underwear bomber, they said it's because of him. Because of the Nigerian underwear bomber, all the security coming to the United States from Nigeria, they buckle down on it. So they don't play when it comes. When you flying from Nigeria to the United States, yeah, you're going to go through some serious checkpoints. Yeah, you're going to be, yeah, you go through a lot. Yep. Did the brothers have a trial? Yeah, they had a trial. They've been found guilty. They had a trial. They even had an appeal. They had everything. They've been in prison for 5 years now. For 5 years, and we're just there. And it's just DC Rob just started talking about it in 2021. This happened in 2017 because they had no outlet. They didn't have any way to communicate with anybody. They couldn't communicate till they got transferred to this other prison. So they just been sitting in there. The parents knew, but I don't know, if the parents knew what to do or where to go to try to get help. Yeah, that's who I travel with, Delta. I like travel with Delta. They got a really nice, if you go to Nigeria, you guys go to Lagos, Delta's flight, oh my God, I just love them. And it used to be the same steward. Is it the same flight crew, Curly, stay ready? Do you know this is the same people? But they had the best flight crew because the Nigerian flight, oh my God, the Nigerians want to take so much luggage. Y'all, and we are sitting there while they got to put all this luggage everywhere. Then they don't want to sit down and they don't want to do this and they don't want to do that. But the Nigerian, the flight attendants, the U.S. flight attendants, they are so good. They really know how to deal with the Nigerians without being offensive to them. And I really like that. They know how to get them to do things. Because Nigerians, they can be kind of stubborn and they get in their moods. So she, they know how to deal with them in a way where it's not offensive, and I really like that. I really like that. I really like that flight. And after a while, I have flew so much, you guys. I started having fun on the plane. I started meeting different people. You talk to them, you have a good time because you're on the plane for 12 hours. If you do that direct flight from Atlanta, but it's worth it because in 12 hours, you'll be in Nigeria, Lagos, and you'll be ready to go. You'll be ready to go. Yes, some of the faces are familiar. Yes, and that's what I liked. That's the same ladies and it's the same men. It would be like these same people I would see all the time. And they just had such a wonderful their personality. They were really funny. I really enjoyed them. So I think we went over everything. I left the information up here. What I'm going to do, you guys, put the information in the comment section of these people that you can write. Okay, and let me put that up there. This is one of the people that you can write. He's a special envoy for the Hostage Committee, Hostage Affairs Committee. You can write him. You can get information. You can ask him for assistance. And what we want to do is we just want to ask them to please, will you please consider this executive order, the same thing that you're doing for Brittany. Please do this for the Stephenson brothers. Please. Please make sure you say please and thank you. Because these people are getting letters, I'm sure, where they're being called all kind of names, where they're being slammed, where they're being accused of things that they have no idea of that's going on. But if we write them, please, let's just say please and thank you. All we want, people, is that they get treated, they get the same thing that Brittany is getting. Here's another person, the U.S. State Department Public Liaison. That's the phone number, and that's the web address, okay? You can call the phone number, and you can ask for an email, and you can email them. And again, we don't want to send a long, drawn-out email. We just want to know. We want you to please, the same executive order you're using to help Brittany Garner, please use the same executive order to help the Stephenson brothers who have been wrongfully detained in Ecuador. That's all we want. That's all we want. That's all we want. We want this. We're not asking for anything different. We're not asking for special treatment. We're not asking for any of that. We just want you, whatever you're doing for Brittany, we're just asking you to please do this for them. Do this for the Stephenson brothers. That's all we're asking. And it's just that simple, y'all. We don't have to go and accuse them of being bad people. We don't have to accuse them of doing this. We don't have to accuse them of showing favoritism. We don't have to accuse the Ecuador government. That's the problem. It's too many finger pointing. Let's stop pointing. At this point, we're fighting for lives. At this point, these boys need our help. These African American men, these Americans need our help. They need our help. And y'all know what makes our government move is the people writing them. Because they know if you're going to take the time to write, you're going to take the time to vote. And we got to do something, y'all. Please go watch DC Raw's videos. If you don't have anything to do today or this weekend, please go watch them videos. Just watch them, all of those interviews. Please, please, please. Please take the time to write these people. Please take the time to write. I've never asked you guys to do anything, but I'm begging you to please take the time. To the mothers on here, from one mother to another mother, please take the time to write these people. And like I said, all you have to say is, please, sir, or your honor, or ma'am, please, the executive order you're using to help Brittany Garner, can you please use that executive order to help the Stephenson brothers who are wrongfully accused in Ecuador since 2000, and 17. I'm going to make a copy of it, the one I type, okay? So you guys can see it, so you can use it as a model, okay? Because we got to do something. We got to do something. We can't just leave them there. And this is what's going on. I'm telling you, there's a lady in Russia. There's a lady in Russia right now. A lady in Russia. And guess what? They was trying to help her get out. They was trying to help. This is how powerless we really are in other countries. They were trying to help. They told her to go. When she got out on bond, you know what they told her? They told her to go. They gave her $200. They said, go to the airport. They even took her to the airport and told her, get out the country right now. Right now, get out this country, and gave her $200 because they know for real, we out there, we are vulnerable to them. It is not our country. It is not our country. And you got to realize that it is their country. It is their country. It is not our country. We're just visitors there. It's just like going to somebody's house to visit. That's what we're doing. And we got to remember that. We got to remember that. This is not our country. Thank you, Travel Line. Thank you so much. I'm loving the show. Thank you. Please keep making AAs aware of what's going on in these points. I am, because you know what, Ms. Strickland? It's crazy. Because you know what? This could be me. I keep thinking this could be me. Because I'm that person who will just look up a country and just go to that country. Just go to the country by myself. Like Mr. Foreman said, on the plane by myself. Go there by myself. Do things by myself. Get involved with the people there by myself. There's something by the grace of God, nothing happened to me. Nothing happened to me. I don't want no woman, because I was a woman doing this, y'all. Well, I'm a woman now, but I'm doing this as a woman. I don't want anybody to take that chance, the chances I took. I don't want anybody to do that. I didn't really know these people. I knew them from the internet. I put my whole life on the line and I didn't even know it. I put my whole freedom on the line and I didn't even know it. I didn't even know it. So if I can do something along this way to help other people, yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. I'm going to share information and I'm going to do whatever I can. And thank you for watching. Oh, thank you. Curly already said, everybody give the video a thumbs up before exiting. All right, y'all. We've been on here 2 hours and 22 minutes. Thank you again for joining me today. This is something I really feel strongly about, is letting us know what's going on in these REPAT communities, because somebody got to tell us the truth, because these REPATs and these expats are definitely not telling us the truth. But DC born Rob is. So if you're interested in going to Latin American, he focuses on Latin American. He's African American and he focuses on Latin America. So if you're interested in Latin America, oh my God, please watch him, because he's telling you the truth. 100% truth. He's not playing. All right. So we're going to talk about this next week. We're going to do another country. I'm not sure if I want to do Panama or Kenya, because like I said, this is affecting the people in the West, not just African Americans, not just Europe, not just Americans. There's UK people that's being killed like this too. So I don't know if we're going to do Kenya, but there's a story of Kenya and there's one in Panama that I really want to look at. So we're going to, that I've been looking at. Because I always research the stories ahead of time. So I'm going to, I haven't decided which one though, but we're going to do that. We're going to stay on this series. What's really going on in the REPAT communities? We're going to stay on this for a little bit, okay? At least till we get the truth out about what's going on in these REPAT communities, all right? And then we'll see where we go from there. All right, that's all I have right now. Thank you so much for staying with me for 2 hours and 24 minutes now. And again, I will see you guys later. I love you and have a wonderful, wonderful Saturday. Okay, y'all, I got to come over on this side. Because y'all know I got to let this mic up. I got to let this, turn this camera off over here. And then we're gone.